So, have you ever given someone a thumbs up and suddenly realized you might have just insulted them? I used to think that gesture was the universal good job, but I learned the hard way. It's not that simple.
That actually happened to a friend of mine traveling in West Africa. She flashed a thumbs up at a vendor as a thank you, and the poor guy looked totally horrified. Turns out, there it means something a lot less friendly, almost like an obscene gesture.
Yeah, and it's wild because even within Europe, you get different meanings. In Germany or Hungary, it can mean the number 1, while in Japan, apparently, it means 5, and in ancient Rome, it was literally life or death for gladiators. So much for universal language.
It really makes you wonder how many other little things we take for granted, right? Gestures, words, they're all just codes. And without the cultural context, you might as well be guessing.
And that's just gestures. Once you start mixing in words and phrases, things can get even messier. Speaking of which, let me tell you about my own embarrassing language. So picture this. I'm in Germany, trying my best to fit in at a new job. My colleague tells me she got a promotion, and I go, "Good for you," thinking I'm being super supportive. Instead, she goes stone cold and ignores me for a week.
Oof, that must have felt brutal. I can totally see how confusing that would be, especially when you meant well. Did you ever figure out what went wrong there?
Yeah, eventually a German friend explained that the phrase "schon für dich" is actually kind of sarcastic in German. It's like saying, "Well, good for you," but with a hint of envy or annoyance. Completely not what I intended.
Isn't it wild how the same words can trigger totally different feelings depending on where you are? I've had that happen too. Something innocent in one place is loaded in another. Makes you realize how much is going on under the surface.
For sure. And honestly, it took me years and a bit of studying linguistics to really see how deep it runs. Even when two people speak the same language, their cultural filters can scramble the message.
And if it can happen with just a little congratulatory phrase, imagine how easy it is for entire business deals to fall apart over these invisible misunderstandings.
That brings to mind this story about an American company trying to close a deal with Chinese partners. The Americans thought everything was set, took them out to dinner, and then totally fumbled the etiquette.
Oh, I know the one where the junior American greeted the Chinese leader and then told him to sit anywhere he liked. In Chinese culture, that's a huge slip. Hierarchy really matters there. And not being properly welcomed can seriously offend someone.
And it did. What seemed like a friendly, casual gesture in the U.S. actually caused the Chinese side to pull away and rethink the whole deal. It ended up delayed by 8 months.
It's kind of mind-blowing that something as small as who greets you or where you sit at a table could have that much impact. But it all comes down to those hidden cultural rules we don't even realize we're following.
Absolutely. And that's why being aware of these invisible filters is so critical, especially in global settings. But the good news is, there are ways we can actually get better at this sort of thing. One thing that really helps is thinking of communication as a toolbox. Basically, you've got your verbal tools, what you say, and your nonverbal ones, how you say it, your body language, all that good stuff.
Yeah. And it's surprising how much gets communicated without words, isn't it? Stuff like eye contact, gestures, even how close you stand. In some places, standing close is friendly. Elsewhere, it feels invasive.
Exactly. And when it comes to words, even familiar language can trip us up. Ever tried to read a technical manual or legal contract? Suddenly, you're the outsider, struggling to decode the meaning.
Or when someone uses an idiom that just doesn't translate. My favorite example is when someone in the U.S. said, "Kick the bucket around my cousin from Spain." She looked genuinely worried someone had kicked an actual bucket.
That's why it helps to keep things simple. Check for understanding, and maybe tell a story instead of relying on shortcuts. Stories, at least, are pretty universal.
Plus, if you're ever unsure, just ask or clarify. It sounds basic, but curiosity and a little humility go a long way when you're untangling cultural knots.
At the end of the day, the biggest shift is realizing we all carry these invisible lenses. If we can just pause and ask ourselves, how might this come across through someone else's eyes? We're already halfway to better communication.
It's kind of freeing, isn't it? Instead of worrying about messing up, we can focus on learning from each new interaction. Each conversation becomes a chance to understand a little more about the world and ourselves.
And as we get better at adapting, choosing our words, reading the room, and checking our assumptions, we can avoid those accidental slights or misunderstandings. It's all about growth.
Plus, it opens up so much more possibility. Real connection, better teamwork, even stronger friendships across cultures. If we approach it all with curiosity and empathy, who knows what we'll learn?